I'm Dr. Erica Bove, and welcome to the Love and Science podcast. I'm your host, and also the founder of Love and Science, Thriving Through Infertility. I'm so excited you're here today. With over a decade of experience helping thousands of women just like you, I empower professional women to build their families with confidence and compassion. Let's dive in. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Love and Science podcast. I am so incredibly thrilled to have my mentor, Dr. Una, back on the podcast. She is an amazing human. Dr. Unachukwu is the founder of EntreMD, which is a company on a mission to help 100,000 physicians build profitable 7 and 7+ figure businesses so that they have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on their terms. Doesn't that sound amazing? She does this through the EntreMD Business School, the only school of its kind for physician entrepreneurs, the EntreMD podcast, a top 1% podcast, and her best-selling books, which they are fabulous. You should read them all. Dr. Una, which is what I call her, as she is so fondly called, has been featured in Forbes, and her company was on the Inc. 500 list of fastest-growing privately held companies in America for 2 years running. And she also happens to be a board-certified pediatrician who lives in Atlanta. And so you know how obsessed I am with physician coaches, and Dr. Una is here to share her wisdom today. Okay, so Dr. Una, I am so grateful to have you here today. And every single time I hear your story, I'm just blown away by the vision, by the courage, by the just like dedication that you had to doing something that nobody else had done. Can you share a little bit about how you created the EntreMD Business School and, sort of born out of your own personal story of being a pediatrician?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me back on the show. I've been looking forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So if we start off from where I graduated from pediatric residency and finally became a big boy attending, if you will, and super excited about it. And it takes me back to when I saw my first patient. And, I was like, the buck stops with me. I walked in, saw the patient, made my diagnosis, sent off a prescription, didn't have to report to anybody, all of that. And I came out of the room and it was really so anticlimactic because I was like, and I was shocked by it. I was expecting to feel excited, but I was shocked by it. I was like, so what I just did, I'm going to do that 20 times a day till I'm 65 and then I'll retire. I'm like, that's it. Like I've arrived, and that was too much. That was just too much. And I didn't have any concept of what else I could do. But I was like, I'm going to give this 10 years. I can't do this forever. I don't know what this is. And it's not because I hated it. It's just that for me, it just signified an end. And so after that, I did go on to start a private practice, which is a whole conversation for a different day. But I started a private practice. And I will say I thought, that ignorance is bliss. Because I didn't know the challenges. I didn't know what would be required of me. But I started it. And, I immediately enrolled in the School of Hard Knocks because I was a socially awkward, super shy introvert, didn't want to sell, didn't want to market, didn't want to look at profit and loss statements, didn't want to do anything. Like I was treated like it was a buffet, but it was not a buffet. These are things that were required. But I'm grateful that, I was able to, learn the skills and make the private practice work. But the turning point for me came when, this was 2016, which was 10 years ago at this point. And I just had this aha, right? That medicine as we know it is gone. And if all you know how to do is, lay hands on patients, take care of patients, you're going to be out of luck. You're going to need to retool yourself for what is coming. 2026, it makes sense. 2016 didn't make sense at all. And that's when I started thinking and I said, okay, what could I do? I was like, I could become the CEO of my practice, which is very different from being the lead pediatrician. Like, I could do that. I could write books. I could speak, which was very funny, right? Socially awkward, super shy, introvert, saying I can speak. That was the most, I still laugh about it today. And I was like, I could speak. I gulped really big and started this process of retooling myself, but a few months into it, I said, you know what, this is not going to be bad for me this is going to be bad for 1 million physicians, right? At that time,
Mm.
there's 800 licensed physicians, so 800,000. I was like, it's going to be bad for 800,000 physicians. And nobody has time for me to go learn all this stuff and then come. I know enough to teach people, you know? And so that's when EntreMD as a company was born. And it was really like we need to retool ourselves to thrive. If we don't understand business, if we don't understand leadership, if we don't understand how to monetize stuff, you know, and it's not that we're in it for the money, but we do live in an economic world. Like it's like being in basketball. You're like, I don't care about baskets. Now you like bucket, like you kind of have to care, you know, is the nature of the game. And so I started that in 2018. Dr. Erica, you'll be so amused by this. I had my first meeting for EntreMD. I had um, 6 doctors and 3 medical students with all the marketing powers I had in this world. This was what I was able to gather in a room. And, and we got in and kind of shared the vision, you know, of it and all of that, and started doing some one-on-one coaching. I kind of treated it like a side gig. You know, I was dipping my toe in the water. And then finally, in April of 2020, I had this question like, are you really going to help the doctors? Or are you going to treat this as a side gig, just a thing? Are you going to go all in? And I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for 1 million physicians. That's a lot of people. And I struggled with that. I want to say for at least a month. It may have been 6 weeks. I struggled with it. And when I finally said yes, what showed up on the other side of that yes was the EntreMD Business School. It's like now we're going to build something that's going to help physicians thrive through the times that we find ourselves in, whether they're employed, whether they're coaches, whether they own insurance-based practice, cash practice, whatever it is, show them how to build these business systems around them so they have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on their terms. And so, yeah, so the business school it'll be 6 years old in a little bit. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to serve physicians the way I do. And I'm so grateful I said yes, because I did not anticipate the impact. I did not anticipate the difference it would make for people. I just said yes. And many people are in that position where there's a yes that you could say, yeah, there's something you could say yes to, but you don't quite know, you're a little nervous and all of those things. Well, on the other side of it, on the other side of a yes is, I mean, it'll blow your mind. And so, yeah, so I'm grateful.
And Dr. Una, I'm so grateful that you said that yes, because I say not a day goes by that I don't quote you in some way, that I don't think about you in some way. And I know that I can serve the people who I serve because you said yes. And, you know, I share the story, like when I was thinking about this idea I had, right? This idea of like, I am here to heal the healers on their fertility journey. Like that is what I'm here for. When I'm in clinic, you know, I really connect with my physician patients. And I just am so like moved and angry and frustrated that the people who dedicate their lives to medicine are also the ones who have higher rates of infertility, who have worse pregnancy outcomes, whose own hypervigilance and doctor brain is part of the limiting system that keeps people from building their families. And so, you know, when you said that yes, that is also what then enabled me to say yes to serving the people and having the impact. As of this moment, I have 8 babies born through Love and Science, and 10, even this week, 2 more pregnant people
Oh,
who
man.
years of infertility, you know, female physicians, years of infertility, who through these frameworks were able to, you know, create their dream lives. And I mean, I'm here on the Love and Science podcast talking about my story, but I can tell you, I mean, we see this in every realm of life, you know, with all the different people. And it's just so powerful that you were able to do that, to say, how can I use my unique gifts? How can I overcome my fears? I'm an introverted invert too. You know, how can we do this to serve the people and serve the world? And so thank you from the bottom of my heart for your yes, which then allowed my yes to serve the people who I continue to serve. It's just one of the greatest blessings. Hello, my loves. I am so excited to share this news with you. If you are a female physician navigating the fertility journey and you want a structured, evidence-based plan, I have created a free resource for you. It's called the Physician Fertility Roadmap. I have created a guide to help you optimize your chances of pregnancy and a successful outcome over the next 6 to 12 months. Check out the link in the show notes. Love you. Bye.
And I want to say my pleasure, of course, my pleasure, my absolute honor. I say that every Wednesday night, right? But I also want to say, thank you to you for doing what you do because this is the deal. And this is true of humans in general, but especially for physicians, is that we've been trained in one way, and I don't know that I necessarily fault our training. I think the times changed on us. There was a time we had a monopoly, so many of the things we have to do now were not required because there's nobody else in the space. We kind of just did what we did. We could hang the shingle and people would come. But things have changed so dramatically that our MD as is no longer enough, not for clinical medicine. We are great at that. But the thing is, almost everybody I've talked to who's a physician went into medicine because they wanted to help people. They wanted to make the world a better place. Like it takes a certain kind of person to say, you know what, I'm going to blow 10 years of my youth and get a multiple six-figure loan to earn the right to take care of people. It takes a certain kind of person to do that, right? And so I know that every time you activate a physician, you never know what's going to come out, but you do know it's going to be good, right? Like, so think about what you do. Think about the number of doctors you've helped and by extension, their families, and by extension, the other people they give hope just because the people can see their stories and all of that. And that's one physician. You know what I'm saying? And so the more of us that are activated to build business systems around what we do, so we're free to do what we do. We think about freedom, we think about time freedom and financial freedom, but there's also impact freedom, right? Where it doesn't have to be only this way. I know this way of supporting people at a higher level, they can get results that they're not the standard or not the norm, and let's go, right? And that's what you have. And it's just beautiful to see. And every physician has access to that. There is something in there burning that we're like, man, if we can unlock that, what could it look like? So you unlock families, and that's amazing.
It's beautiful. No, it's beautiful. And I'm so glad you brought up, every day I meditate on this time freedom, financial freedom, all the things, because when we have that, we get to choose how we're going to serve. But this impact freedom, when I talk to doctors, when I'm in my clinical job, it's this moral injury that we talk about. I am trying so hard to take good care of patients, and I can't do it in the way that I know how to. I mean, I've shared with you before that I have a very ill family member. She's doing much better now, but a very ill family member. And it was really one of the physicians I met in the EntreMD Business School, Dr. Amig, who was able to listen to her story, put the pieces together, and get us on a better path for her whole health and healing. And she says that she only could practice medicine in that way because of the business school. And this is a talented, smart, driven doctor who, in the conventional systems of our current medical complex was floundering. Right. But when you gave her the tools and the courage and the mindset and all those things that we talk about at the EntreMD Business School, that's when she then could practice medicine in the way that she knew was true to her heart, with her gifts, with her listening, with her curious mind, and, her kind of hope and science, as we talk about. We have very similar views. And then she was able to directly help my own family member in a way. And that's just the gift that keeps on giving. And so I think about that, how great would it feel to go to work every day, feeling valued, feeling that you matter, knowing that you're practicing aligned with your values, because I think that's a lot of the moral injury is we have these values as physicians. And in many ways, it is impossible, truly impossible to practice in the current systems according to our values. And over time, I mean, it creates suffering and it's unsustainable.
It's really unsustainable. And I agree with you. Like sometimes people say, is the number of shifts I do that bring burnout and all of that. And while maybe the number of shifts is not healthy, I find with us is more so we're out of alignment. Yes. Right. And and when I say out of alignment, what I mean is these are your values. This is where you see your life going. This is the way you can help people and all of that. And every day you go to work and you're doing the opposite, or you're doing something that's completely off tangent. So it's just so much internal friction. I probably work harder than a lot of people, right? But I do it the way I want to do it, chasing the goals I want to chase, helping the people I want to help. And so it's very rare that my work feels like work. This is
Same.
all, it almost never happens because it's like I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. I am doing what, I'm alive because of this. This is why I'm here. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful place to be in, where everything
That's
is in
right.
alignment with where you think you're going. And I think the more physicians we can get to that place, the more healing we can bring, not just to the physician community, but also the healthcare space in general. Like the healthcare space is literally waiting for us to kind of get it together.
That's right. And I will say, I mean, in the EntreMD Business School, I now have over 100 new friends and colleagues and people who open doors. And I mean, not a day goes by that my EBS, I joke sisters because it's mostly women, but there's men too, that my EBS, brothers and sisters don't check on me in some way or offer to connect me to some opportunity. I mean, truly, it's just been life changing. And just to describe in this school, we have OBGYNs, we have endocrinologists, we have urologists, we have sex medicine doctors, we have surgeons, we have, I mean, the list goes on. And so, there might be that thought, oh, well, I'm this kind of a doctor and I am pigeoned and this will never work for me. Like I can't go out on my own or I can't, many people do locums as they're, creating their dream business and their dream life. Like there is a pathway literally for anybody. Like we as physicians have the building blocks for what it takes to be successful in this way. We just have to break out of the current molds. And some of those molds are honestly our own limiting beliefs. But to have the structure and the accountability, people always say to me, they're like, how do you do what you do with love and science? And how do you balance it all and everything? I mean, first of all, I literally say, like, I just do what Dr. Una says and it works. Like, I follow what she says and it pans out. And and it keeps, even since the last time we recorded, I just think about the decisions I'm making, and it's like we joke every quarter is like a new year for EBS. Like every single 3 months, it's such an upgrade of identity and boldness and risk taking, like calculated risks. But like I feel so much stronger in terms of what I'm called to do. And I'm less and less afraid of hearing the word no. And so the possibilities in that context, and again, it's not me in isolation, it's me in this incredibly wonderful network of humans. It's just like exponential. People say, you're in year 3 of EBS. Didn't you learn everything you need to know in year 1? And I just tell them, I'm like, okay, well, let me paint you a picture of pre-EBS. Let me paint you a picture of year 1, year 2. I'm like, my business keeps growing. I continue to have more freedom and my life keeps getting richer and richer in all of the domains. And so like, why would I stop doing this thing that is working so well for me and brings me and joy? I mean, it's like the words I use to describe EBS are like fun and joy. And people are like, what? I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like we really do have a lot of fun. And I guess it depends on your idea of fun. But like, for me, this is fun. I'd rather do this than so many other things. Yeah.
Yeah, and you talked about something that tends to be something that a lot scares a lot of people away from either getting into entrepreneurship or taking it to the next level, which is what happens to the rest of my life, right? And I
Mm,
particularly love watching. And you just talked about it, you're like, every domain of my life is getting better, right? Because that's what it's about. Like business is not. It's not an end in itself, right? The goal is
mm-mm.
not to become an entrepreneur, the end. There's a comma there, right? And the goal is to build a business, and this business is built in such a way that's a vehicle. It's a vehicle that allows you to have impact. It's a vehicle that allows you to have financial freedom, and it's a vehicle that allows you to have time freedom. So you then have the time to work on all the other areas of your life. And you've heard the saying that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And so when you start creating these businesses where progress every day, progress every quarter becomes the norm, then you're going to turn on your life and you're going to be like, okay, progress every quarter is the norm. Like every quarter, this should look different, which is a gift to every physician, particularly women physicians. I've had many people who are like, no, I can't do that entrepreneurship thing. I don't want to lose my relationship with my kid. And I'm like, no, I homeschool my 4 kids. This is designed to make it better, not worse. And
Yeah, yeah.
so, yeah, I love watching you do that because you live that out loud. So that's fun.
Thank you so much. And I do, for people who are listening who maybe see me at this snapshot in time, I did want to walk back to share my own journey to before I joined EBS and what that was like for me. And, many of you know I'm divorced. I need to stay rooted in the Albany area for the foreseeable future, right? And I was working in a private practice and I just had this intuition that it was not a good long-term fit, right? Like on the surface, everything seemed to be going well, but my intuition was like, no, this is not a good long-term partnership. And so my mind offered me, well, you're stuck geographically. Like you have to stay in this area. You have to stay stuck in this job. I knew I was dying inside. I didn't know what to do about it, but I knew there was something more. And so I had decided to go to coaching school through COVID. And that was really interesting. Again, intuition, didn't know where it would lead. But then got this idea, I think that the coaching tools are what my patients need. These patients I'm seeing over and over and over in the office. And, it was actually many of them female physicians who were, everything looked good on paper. It's like you're making euploid embryos, your lining looks good. We can't explain why these transfers aren't working. The transfer was uncomplicated. Like as a med student, you're taught, you just got to figure it out and then you're good, and then as an attending, as you're trying to take care of the people, you realize like there's so much more to that. And I started to wonder, like, I think that there's a mind-body connection disconnect here. And this hypervigilance of like, is my doctor forgetting anything? Or what about this study? Or what about that study? And now we have the internet and all these things that was creating this anxious space where the physiology was not working. And so that's when I started really like saying, okay, well, we can bill based on time. So we've gone through the science, make an appointment in 2 weeks. That's a 30-minute visit. And we are going to do some of the coaching tools, particularly at these decision points. Like for instance, okay, you've done 3 autologous IVF cycles. Are you considering donor egg IVF? Are you considering doing another IVF cycle with your own eggs? Like, sometimes we even think about other testing. Like, how do we take the values and really put them front and center, tune into the body, calm the nervous system, and then approach these decisions from that much more grounded space? And that's when the outcomes started to skyrocket for my patients, right? Like that's when they would get pregnant outside of an IVF cycle, or they would do another IVF cycle and it would, work so much better. Or they decide to go on a weight loss journey and then, voila, they went to oral medications and like things that weren't supposed to happen were happening. And so then I started to say, what if I could do this on a broader level? But that was an amazing idea, but I had no roadmap, right? And I was like, okay, well, I have to work and I'm a single parent and all these things. Like, what do I do? And that's when another REI friend of mine, Dr. Oswaldo, said, you should check out this woman, Dr. Una. Here's her podcast. She's at this point, I think you had written 1 book, Dr. Una. Now you've written so many more. Oh my gosh. Back to way back when. And I read your book, the EntreMD Method, and I was like, you know what? I think she gets it. She says that physicians are wired for greatness, even if we've never taken a business school. And then I started looking around, and Dr. Swaldo now has this amazing practice. She was really in her infancy in her business then too, and just to see the community, to see the wins, and so. Intuitively, and I had interviewed, this is me, I'm very thorough, right? As we all are, many of us are. I'd interviewed many business coaches, really spent some time with the decision, but it was really your values that align with mine. And I thought, like, this is the person, this is the structure. As long as I put in the effort, right? This can't be a passive process. Like, but I know, I'm going to, put in the time, put in the investment. I'm going to invest in myself and in my idea and see what happens. And that's when, things happen that I can't even explain. Like we were on one of those CEO Power Hour conversations, and one of our mentors, Dr. Tamara Beckford, said, okay, Erica, you need to say, I'm ready to welcome my first client. And so, we did the structure, right? This is kind of like Love and Science. We make sure the science is sound, and then we, do the mindset work and everything. So she made me, make my booking link and my payment link. I truly said out loud in that meeting, I'm ready to welcome my first client. That was a Friday. A friend of mine out of the blue called on Sunday and said, hey, I heard about, yes, seriously. I didn't even have a website at this point. And she was like, I heard you're doing some coaching. I'm an REI. I could really use some extra support. I know I'm not trying to get pregnant right now, but would you coach me? And I was like, 48 hours later, like what? And it wasn't even 48 hours. Cause I remember I finished my morning IVF and then she called me and I was like, why is she calling? And I picked up the phone and she asked me to coach her. And so this is when we speak these things, when we have these ideas. So she was my first client. And then I got another client. And then, now, of course, now it's like dozens and dozens and communities and everything. But what it did was it allowed me then to say, you know what? I know I'm rooted in Albany. How can I create a life that is more aligned with my values and my priorities at this stage, right? It's going to evolve with the different stages. And around that time, University of Vermont, contacted me and said, "Hey, we really need somebody to see patients." And I said, "Well, I have these restrictions. No worries. We're going to work around those things." And so, that is when it was really joining EntreMD Business School that really shattered my glass ceiling of what I thought was possible. And then I started asking the question, how can I, right? So then for a time I did part-time work at UVM, and then, really grew the business in the meantime. Even I met with my financial team earlier, this week, and looking at the numbers, now I can say I do clinical medicine for fun. Like literally that was my goal, to say, like, you know what? Like, I know that clinical medicine has a lot of problems right now. I love this coaching thing. I'm deeply passionate about it, but how do I make that it's not a side hustle, right? I was very careful not to use that language. How can I gradually make this like my primary way of living? Because we serve and we earn, right? And I can say this is 2.5 years into the EntreMD Business School, when literally all I had was an idea, that now I have this amazing ability to serve the people. I can say I practice clinical medicine for fun. I'm turning away so many offers, to practice clinical medicine. It's almost overwhelming. I'm like, okay, no, I've got my thing. I've got it. We're good. But now it's like there's just so many possibilities that are coming, and I get to say what I want to do, what works for my life and my schedule and my priorities and my people. And that freedom, like, I'm tearing up just saying this, like, that is everything. And that is available to every single person who is listening to this, who feels stuck, who feels limited, who feels like they have to pay back their loans in a certain way, or they have, this, whatever our brains are offering to us. Like, that is my story. And it just continues to build on itself. It's just amazing. If you're listening right now and finding yourself nodding along, this is usually the moment people realize that they want support that's specific to them. In addition to this podcast, I offer one-on-one fertility consults where we look at your full picture with both strategy and compassion. You can learn more in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
That is so wow. There are parts of this I didn't even know about. This is so amazing. I want to ask you a question because, I mean, it's your podcast, now I'm asking you questions. But I want to ask you a question because, after you've done this for a while, somebody may hear your story and they're just saying, well, you're a unicorn, right? Like, you're a unicorn. Of course, that happened for you because, we're in a time where the common narrative is, as a physician coach, you cannot replace your physician salary. Like, it's a very common narrative. And now you're doing clinical medicine for fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not doing it at the expense of your family and all of those things. I want you to think about what it was that could have stopped you from making the decision. In your case, it was to join the EntreMD Business School. What is something that at that time could have stopped you? It may have been the investment. It may have been, will this work for me? What are those things, and how did you navigate that? I'm always curious about it because that was a defining moment, right? And I'm sure you thought things would happen, but I don't know if you thought they would be the way they are now,
Yeah, that's such a great question, Dr. Una. I think a few things. And as I remember my first call with Makita, who is an amazing human on your team, it was actually the biggest limiting factor for me joining EBS was I was in my sort of interim year of shifting from the private practice to doing per diem at UVM. I was an employed coach for a psychiatrist who had a relationship coaching business, which I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity. It gave me an inside view into the business without having the ultimate responsibility. But I'm a deeply loyal person. And I did tell her at the beginning, I was like, okay, I know you're offering me this, but I have this idea. And she said, I know you have this idea. Work with me for some period of time and, and see how it goes. And then maybe you might want to branch off at that point and I will fully support you. Like, she from the beginning supported me, but I was her head coach and I felt responsible for her clients and, her client experience. And it was really the thought of disappointing her and, disappointing my existing structures. And that was also the same thing that made it so hard for me to resign from my employed position at UVM, was this sense of loyalty. And so that's what I would say is interesting. It was a little bit financial, but not really, because I knew the numbers were going to work out. And I can share more about that in a minute. But it was more the feeling of like, I'm disappointing somebody I really respect. I should do it in this way, or, without me doing what I'm doing, like that system's going to have some hardship and struggle. And I don't like to create suffering for other people. And so when I met with Makita, I was like, I'm like 90% in. I have this fear of, launching my own business because that means I'm going to have to disappoint her, my mentor, and let her go. And so there were some tough conversations in there, right? But I think that I knew in my heart what I was called to do, and it was not called to be the head coach for somebody else for a long term. I knew that there are, many, many gifts of that relationship, but it really was a chapter. It was not the purpose, right? And it was really getting over that fear of disappointment that helped me to make the investment. Now the investment, I will say, yes, it was a decent amount of money, but I had already invested in the coaching school, which I couldn't even do what I'm doing now if I hadn't done the coaching school. And it's also like who you become in the process. I will say, Dr. Una, and I think you'd agree with this, better than any vacation, any house, any car, any like large purchase that we might say, okay, I took a loan for that or whatever. Like coaching, like you could strip away every other single thing, and coaching is the number one investment I have ever made in my life. Whether it was relationship coaching as I came out of my divorce, parenting coaching when I was like, okay, how do I transition to being a single parent? That's a huge transition. I have done meditation coaching, business coaching, money coaching. I mean, this is how I solve the problems in my life is coaching. But truly, like the investment of the business school, yes, of course, I looked at that number and I was like, well, I'm driven. I can see these other stories. I'm easily going to make that back. And I will say, even in year one, I like more than 2x my investment, which is fantastic. And then, year three, let's see, 6 times my investment. So like, you can see how it just keeps growing. So the financial piece, I had sticker shock, but I was like, what, if I put the things in, if I do what Dr. Una says, it's going to work. So that was like a little cognitive block, but I got over that pretty easily once I knew the return on investment would be there. And then I think the other thing was the time, because I was like, well, here I am working as an attending, try to grow this business. Like, do I really have time to do one more thing? But what I didn't quite realize, I mean, Mikita was like, don't worry about the time. We meet on Wednesdays. You can do the other stuff on your own time. We can have the replay. And I'm like, okay, I'm actually really great at time management. So this is going to be fine. Like I wasn't at the end of the day, I was like, okay, but it's not like 15 hours a week. You know what I mean? But also what I've learned in the business school is I actually have a whole new perspective on time management and a whole new set of toolkits, which what you call, the CEO calendar, that, even the even little concerns I had about the time investment in the beginning, now my whole time system is so much more defined. I don't do overwhelm anymore. Like I just don't even get overwhelmed because I'm like, okay, yeah, that's on my time block and I have this time and that time. And so even that upgrade of identity of like, I don't get stressed out, I don't get overwhelmed. It's really just about priorities at this point and delegation. That investment of time has then also had this huge return on investment because I can now do so much more with the time that I have because of what I've learned in the business school. And that just keeps evolving as well, because the things that used to be important, now become things I can delegate. And then the things that are even most important kind of take that space. And so I guess that's what I would say. It was like fear of disappointing a mentor of mine, which is probably number one in my book. Number two, a little bit of sticker shock, but then trusting my ability to make that money back, and the identity upgrade that's not even able to be captured in the monetary. And then the time management, which, hey, we're all good time managers. And then, it's really just going to keep getting better.
I love that. And that's so helpful. I'm sure, there are people listening who, for instance, are thinking about working with you. And I think it's really important that we have these conversations. I think it's interesting that in, like in the business world or in the sports world, these things are things that are really understood. But for us, it's like, no, you don't need that. Just go look on Google. I'm like, stop telling people this. Like, stop telling people that, because this is something that can truly, truly be life changing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I see it in my own, as I'm, sharing my story of the transformations that the people have had, like people with years of infertility who then come and I listen to their story, I give my perspective, we work on the mind body situation, and then, and the community, right? We haven't even talked about the community yet. But I think that when people feel safe and their nervous systems calm down and they trust that there's a path, then you start putting in the pieces. Like that is the physiology for greatness. That is the physiology for an embryo transfer finally working. That is the physiology for, oh, there's that opportunity. Why don't I pursue that instead of hiding in my turtle shell? Like I introduced myself to two people at my exercise class this morning, Dr. Una, and I was thinking to myself, Dr. Una says, talk to the people. So now I have two new friends in my community because I did that, like these are the things. And so when I try to help people understand, yes, there is an investment initially, you will probably do less IVF because of what we're doing. I track these numbers. Most of the people who work with me are pregnant on their next embryo transfer after working with me, which makes literally no sense. It is crazy. These people, many of them have, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of infertility. And it's like, what is it that changes? And I think it's really, yes, we got to make sure the science is sound, but it's that openness to the possibility that gets shut down over time. So there's so much to it, but I can say now, and I'm rerunning my numbers, but over 90% of my physician clients have had success in the last 2.5 years, either graduated from their REIs or had babies. And like that just wildly defies the numbers. And so I say, okay, for an investment of the coaching, right? Like, first of all, saving the money of IVF because most people pay out of pocket. And so that is a leap of faith, but the data stand for themselves that people do less IVF when they work with me, which is amazing. And then also time. I mean, number one, we age with time, right? So like if you're 38 and then you're trying to do this on your own, you're trying to look on PubMed or direct your own care, whatever else, and then you're 40 and then you're 41, at some point it gets harder and harder to make good embryos. And that's what's so criminal about all of this is that time is of the essence. And so what is going to fast track people to their dream life? And I think, we really can't waste time. We got to go to the people who are going to connect us to the resources. Like I did with you, we got to go to the people. Like time was of the essence for me too. Like how expensive is it to wait another year, 2 years to achieve this dream life? That in and of itself, I think we got to call that out.
Okay, so now you made me all kinds of happy. So, people may not know this, but I love families, right? And I mean, I think the reason is simple. There are a lot of things that I do, but at the end of the day, when I'm 90 and have my 90th birthday party and stuff, I'm probably not going to be thinking about my business as a system other than the people it changed. You know what I mean? And the relationships I'll be looking at would be, with my family and stuff like that. So anyway, I love families. And what you're describing is otherworldly. And I understand it because this is what we do in the EntreMD Business School as well, where the results we get, you're just not going to hear about them anywhere else. Like someone going from employee to multi-7-figure practice in 2 years, 3 years, that's just ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. The number, we actually tracked a data point that, the people who did the survey for 2025, 43% of them joined the business school pre-revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, it was about 12% of them that were still pre-revenue. And some of them were pre-revenue by choice, right? You have like your entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And 70% of people moved a revenue category, right? We had 21% cross to 7 figures, 10% cross to multiple 7. It's just ridiculous, right?
It is ridiculous. It is literally ridiculous.
It's completely ridiculous. Yeah. Now you're doing that because I'm listening to your numbers. I'm like 90%. Like 90% is like that's as close as you get to 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
these people are in the 5%. I just want to say these people have been told by their REIs that there's a less than 5% chance it's going to work.
Okay, so this is nuts. So I want us to talk about this because I think for anybody who's listening, who's thinking of working with you, this is a very important conversation. Okay, so when I think about investing, so I started investing in myself, right? I want to say it was 2017. I didn't know coaching was a thing. I didn't know anything about any of those things, right? I would read books, I would do those, but that's about, what I did. And when I discovered this and looked at who I became on the other side, right? So this is the socially awkward, super shy, introverted introvert, being a person who shows up on stage confidently, all of these things. I'm promoting my practice. I had this Facebook Live show. My practice was growing because of it. All kinds of crazy things happening. And I was like, oh, I can get addicted to this. This is good. Right? And it's all because of the radical change on the other side of it, right? I just became this completely different person. And so since then, I've never stopped. And it's not about numbers. It's not a competition, but I'm usually about six figures a year. That's my investment every year for a number of reasons. One is, I have a really big mission. Okay. I'm trying to shift the narrative for the entire physician community. This is a million people. And because I lead entrepreneurs, one of the worst things I can do is slow down on my growth because I can shatter glass ceilings, but whatever I leave becomes the new glass ceiling. So I determine the ceiling now, right? And so I'm like, nope, I have to keep raising that so my people can see, oh, like this is available, that is available. It becomes this buffet. Okay. So I have seen what saying yes to yourself can do. But I also remember the first time I had the opportunity to invest in coaching. Dr. Erica, you've probably heard me say some version of this before. This was after, 2016 was when I had this aha, medicine has changed. You need to retool yourself and all of those things. And then after that, I saw an invitation for a speaking boot camp. And I remember thinking, oh, I said one of the things I could do is become a speaker. Like this should be fun. Again, socially awkward, super shy, introvert. So this was just hilarious that I was thinking about this. So I went to the event. It was a 3-day event on this, and it was amazing. Like they taught us, it was hands-on. We got to practice the speaking. They taught us the speaking formula, all of these things. And then on day 2, they're like, this has been amazing. And you can come work with us. We have this 10-month program. And they start listing all the things you do in the program, all the sessions, all this stuff. I was like, my goodness, this is amazing. And then when they were done with it, they said, and your investment will be $43,000. I was like, because this is laced with gold, like what in the world, what just happened here, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, I didn't dismiss it. I wasn't going to do it, but I didn't dismiss it. And so I'm talking to my husband later that day. I'm like, hey, these guys, I mean, they're a little nutty. They're a little nuts. Like they just told us about this program. It's $43,000 for 10 months, blah, 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 blah. And we went back and forth, and it was like, we should do it. And not because, we have $43,000 sitting in the bank, but it's like, we should do this. And so I had no clue what will happen on the other side of it, but we said yes to it till today. Okay. This was almost 10 years ago. Till today, we're like, oh, that is the best $43,000 we have ever spent in our lives.
Wow.
And when I think about it, if I didn't do that, there would be no EntreMD. And if there was EntreMD, it would have been one-on-one coaching. That's it. That's what it would have been. It would have been a side hustle. It wouldn't have been the institution it is now. It just would not have been. There would have been no EntreMD podcast, no EntreMD Facebook group, no EntreMD books, no profitable private practice movement, no EntreMD Business School, none of that. And so when I think about the opportunity cost of not investing in myself, it inspires me to invest in myself. Notice I'm not talking fear. I'm saying, well, if I invest in myself again with the target of evolving here, what could be on the other side of that? I don't know. And so I'm saying this to everyone who's maybe, you're working on your family, your REI has told you 10%, whatever. And she's not necessarily, it's not magic. But what Dr. Erica Bove has set up is a company that gives you the absolute best chance. And it's evident, there's evidence. This is not make-believe. Okay, so people have been told you have 5% chance and now they're pregnant. And 90% of her clients have become, right? Okay. So you may be thinking, oh, I don't have the time to work on this, right? And the truth of the matter is we all have time. We're all alive. We have 24 hours a day. So we have time. And I'm making the assumption that this is a priority for you. So like Dr. Erica did, you can make the time, right? Someone may be thinking, well, I don't know if this is the right time, right? And Dr. Erica, you talked about this, like the more time, and I've interviewed Dr. Swelder as well. She said the same thing. The longer the time goes, the less the quality of the eggs. And we're not, again, this is not fear. This is about me saying, after you said 90%, I was like, no, we have to have a conversation about this. Okay. So the longer we wait, the worse our chances. And that's not for us to get into this place of hopelessness. That's not the purpose of this at all. It's just that if I want to put myself in the best possible space, then now is the time, right? Someone may say, well, I don't know if this will work for me. And so with that, I want to say this because we've seen this in the EntreMD Business School a lot. I have no doubt that Dr. Erica, you can see she invests in herself. You can see that she's passionate about what she does. You can see she's actively serving people. So she's putting in the reps and getting better at what she does. You can see she tracks the numbers because they matter to her. And what that means is that she's built a company and her intention is to give you the best possible chance. Now, the way this works is she has made her commitment. She has made her commitment to help you have a baby. Because it's also nerve-wracking, Dr. Erica, but you probably say that to say, oh, 90%, because it's, well, what if? But you're not willing to tolerate the what if. You're like, no, 90%, let's go, right? So she's 100%, like I say, like to say 1,000% committed to your journey being successful. What she will need from you, the only thing she will need from you is your commitment to your own goals. Like, I'm going to win at this. I'm going to pull this off. Is it because it's the same thing you did, Dr. Erica? You're like, well, yeah, the numbers are the numbers, but if I do my part, we'll make this work, right? You took radical ownership, right? And so I'm inviting everyone to do the same thing, to say, oh, well, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to make this work. So I've made the decision it will work. Now I need the partnership with Dr. Bove, who is also committed to it working for me, and let's go, right? Because if nobody will root for you, which Dr. Erica is rooting for you, root for you. You root for you. You root for your outcome. You root for your family. You root for all of that. And you may not have all the pieces, and you don't have to have all the pieces. That's Dr. Erica's job. But if on the other side, there is any chance whatsoever that you can end up with the family you want, the time to say yes is now. Whether you're wondering if it's the right time, if you have the time, the investment. I remember I dropped my kids off at school when they're still going to private school. And I had just paid their tuition. It was an obscene amount of money. I don't even remember how much it was, but it was obscene. I was like, golly. I mean, like, they're in middle school. Like, who's spending this much money? This is crazy. I remember driving back and thinking this thought. I had an opposite thought. And I think that was God talking to me, saying, he's like, when it comes to investing in the evolution of your children, mm-hmm. you never count the cost. You count the ROI. Mm-hmm. If I put them on this path, they can become X. That's what you focus on, not what the tuition was. Because he's like, guess what? 20 years from now, you won't remember. I don't even remember. Like, it's probably been 4 years and I don't remember what the tuition is. He's like, you won't remember what it is, but guess what? You will still have their evolution. Mm-hmm. And I want to invite everyone to think that way as well. Like, what you're looking for is this family. And so this is the investment that will take you there. Because on the other side of it, are you going to say, shoot, I have this kid, but I'm out, how many ever grand? Like, you're not going to think that, right?
No.
And so I really want to invite everyone to say yes to you. I would not have it any other way. And I've been doing this for almost a decade. I will not have it any other way, because to end up with that, to be in a container where it's so full of hope and possibilities, because 90% of people, you know what I mean? And then also to be with someone like Dr. Erica, who you can hear her values, you can hear what she wants. And the transformation she's offering you is not going to change. It's not just that you are going to have a family, but it's also that you're going to change, which means every aspect of your life is going to change. It's such a ride. Like, I would say, just make the assumption, like, literally just do this as your own experiments. Like, I don't know about this whole coaching thing, but I'm going to do this and I will make my conclusions later. maybe you do that. But the version of you would meet on the other side, it'll be worth everything. Okay,
Oh my
Dr. I
goodness.
totally took
Well,
over your podcast,
no,
but
no, that's so beautiful. Even last night at our pregnancy support group, we were talking about the pregnant people and, oh, you remember when she took her first month off of call and that was such a big move that she did. And here she is. And we were talking about the evolution of the people. I just, again, chills, full body chills, because this is so important. It's such important work, but every single decision, even last night, somebody was talking about, she's an attending. Attendings aren't subject to duty hours. And we all know the call schedules and the data. We have data now we have to put our foot down and say, this is the most important thing to me. I will not be working 72 hours straight without a break, but these are the things that I was the vehicle, right? It was like one other member saying to the other member, this is unacceptable. How can we support you? I'll write the letter. I'll give the data and everything, but it's the community too. It's the community piece where the healing also happens in community. And I see this in EBS. I think that what you said is so powerful, Dr. Una, but I think that, now I've been in EBS 3 years, seeing the evolution of the people. Nobody is who they were when they first came into EBS. I mean, like light years different. And I believe wholeheartedly that people would not be where they are today without you, Dr. Una, without the tools of the accountability and the community structure. It's just it blows my mind every single time I think about it. And the same thing's true in my community. And we have to believe that we deserve it. We have to believe that this is our birthright to live the fullest expression of ourselves. And if coaching is the vehicle, so be it.
so be it. And the other thing is like you're somebody who is actively growing, actively investing in yourself and all of that. Mm. And so that's you being a good steward of your community because you're constantly raising the bar, right? Like it's like in January, I was like, you know what, we're going to make 7 figures the new floor here. Like, come on, guys, let's go, right? And it's just constantly raising the bar. And where people, where they find themselves is just so shocking, So
it's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, my heart is so full to know you, to be inspired by you, that the transformations that I continue to experience in the business school continue to affect the lives of so many people and build families, really. I mean, this is the impact that it's having. So I wanted to invite, is there anything else you want my listeners to hear on this beautiful morning?
I think this concept that you have the opportunity to live in a way where every day when you wake up, you can literally think, this is the least I'll ever be. Mm-hmm. Not from a place of dissatisfaction, but from a place of opportunity. Like, I can change, things can be different. I can embrace new experiences. I can embrace new outcomes. And once you think that way, once you accept that, it forces you to think differently. It forces you to show up differently, forces you to expect differently. It forces you to reject the status quo. And once you start thinking in that way, everything changes. And not just once, it's just your new way of living where things just,
the new normal.
Just change.
It's the new normal. It's so beautiful. And I do think that every day. Okay, my dear. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. Thank you for being you. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so people can, I'm a teenager. So if you're on Facebook, I'm a teenager. So if you're on Facebook and or Instagram and you're interested in taking your life business to the next level, you can always DM me there. I'm at Dr. Unachukwu on Instagram and then Neka Unachukwu on Facebook. You want to find out more about what we do, the EntreMD would be the place to go. So entremd.com, our podcast is there, our books are there, our programs are there, workshops, the whole 9 yards. But our commitment is 1,000% committed, right, to helping you win, because I think physicians are amazing. I think we paid our dues up front for the right to take care of people, and we deserve to learn how to build the business systems that then make our dream work, dream businesses, and dream lives possible. Like we deserve that, and we're only one set of skills away.
Beautiful. And I will also link our previous conversations so that people can listen to that, kind of as foundational in terms of some of the mindset stuff, which is also just so incredibly powerful. Thank you, Dr. Una. I can't wait to have you back. I can't wait to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Until the next time. Yeah. And to my loves, you know how much I love you. Bye.